presented by Seat77.com. As always, Dave Dabbah is coming to you live from the Super Plus Seat 77 broadcast studio in the heart of Silicon Valley. Now, Dave Dabbah.
Good afternoon, North America. I am Dave Dabbah, and this is the Dave Dabbah Big Show for a Tuesday. Oh boy, Producer Buck, I am super excited about today's show. Here's what we have for you today. Megatron officially retires from the Detroit Lions. We have a tennis story. We always joke about it, but we actually do have a real-life tennis story for you today. JPP re-signs with the New York Football Giants. The Golden State Warriors have won 45 straight home games. Carson Wentz, we know where he's going to go. Do you? And breaking news out of Buffalo, as Richie Incognito has signed a 3-year deal worth $15 million a year. We have all of that and more on today's super big show. Okay, so Producer Buck wants me to remind everybody, info at Seat77.com. Go ahead and send us your emails. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, TuneIn Radio, as well as our big iTunes channel, which is blowing up North America. But this afternoon, how can we not begin with Richie Incognito? Hey, does everybody remember the video that Richie made while he was a member of the Miami Dolphins? All right, we got it for you. Producer Buck, go ahead and play it now.
Hi, I'm Richie Incognito. On the field, players have called me overly aggressive. While off the field and on the croquet lawn, I'm quite civilized. Oh, bullet hit it. Smashing. While at our stadium today, we greatly appreciate you guys being loud and proud for the Dolphins. But please be respectful and civilized, and be sure to follow the fan code of conduct.
Please do not use foul or abusive language. Intoxication, fighting, taunting, or threatening remarks and gestures are prohibited.
Thank you for following our fan code of conduct. Anything less would be uncivilized.
You gotta love it. The fan code of conduct. Hey, Richie, what about the player code of conduct? Anyways, really fantastic audio. It's amazing to me that Richie Incognito ever figured out how to worm his way back into the National Football League. You know what it means? It really means that the United States and most countries in North America are forgiving, and we are forgiving folks. And we give people a second and a third and a fourth and Johnny Manziel a fifth chance. And that is exactly what Richie Incognito has gotten. The Buffalo Bills, 3 years, $15 million to Richie Incognito. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay. Elsewhere from the National Football League free agency frenzy, which is underway, JPP has signed a 1-year deal. Okay, now this I would consider to be a discounted rate. $10.5 million to go back to the New York Football Giants. The Giants over the last couple days have both illegally and legally brought in additional pass rushers to see what they have. I think this was an excellent move by the Giants, re-signing JPP. And it will be interesting to see how he does this year and what his contract could possibly look like in the coming years. Look, he's worth really, if he hadn't blown up his hand, he'd be worth around $15 million a year. I'm not saying he's worth Sue type money. Well, maybe he is, but Sue's not worth Sue type money. So JPP gets $10.5 million to remain a New York Football Giant. North America, tell us what you think. info@seat77.com. Okay, just a little promo, if you will, for one of the many interviews we will be having on the Dave Dabbah Big Show over the coming weeks. One we're super excited about, 25,000 Miles to Glory. And here's what it's about. It is a group of guys that got a 1967 VW bus, and they drove around to all 32 National Football League stadiums and interviewed fans at all of those stadiums in a 16-week period. They did this back in 2013. There is a movie that they have recently canned. That movie will actually be played at the Hall of Fame in August of this year. So we have a interview coming up later in the week with the executive producer from that. I can't wait to ask him what he thought of my Minnesota Viking fans. I know what he thought of the San Francisco 49er fans, but I can't wait to ask him what he thought of the Minnesota Viking fans. Actually, so they did this in 2013, which means that they would have actually gone to the Metrodome. So they were probably there for one of the last Metrodome home games. All right, elsewhere around the world of football, Megatron has retired. Look, I don't know how many times, Producer Buck, Megatron has retired so far this offseason. I counted at 4. But he is officially retired, as opposed to the other unofficial retirement announcements that came out earlier in the year. Here's what Megatron had to say, and this is a quote from Calvin Johnson. I also want you to know that I have the utmost respect and admiration for the game of football. It has provided so much for me and my family, and I will be forever grateful to the game. So what do you think? Is Calvin Johnson really retired, or could he just not handle being a Detroit Lion anymore? Look, I think that if we get like halfway through the season and the Denver Broncos are looking good and they need a wide receiver, Calvin Johnson is going to be the first person that John Elway calls. Will Calvin Johnson actually accept the call? That is the question in North America. Look, I think he still wants to play. I really do. I just don't think he can handle being a Detroit Lion anymore. Didn't they just like fire their coach and then their general manager just resigned or quit? And I don't even know who's running that organization in Detroit anymore, but we will find out for you, North America. Okay, coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk tennis. And we always kid about tennis on this show. And look, I played tennis as a kid, and I played a little bit in high school, and I've played as an adult. So I think it's a great sport. But we actually have a tennis drug story, and I can't wait to get to this. So we'll get to it a little later in today's show. Just one more note from the National Football League before we move on to Dub Nation. Carson Wentz, where will he go in the upcoming National Football League draft? We have some insight actually into this. Now, I don't know if you remember, but a few weeks back on the show, we claimed on the Dave Dabbah Big Show that Mike Mayock of the NFL Network must be smoking weed because he was calling Carson Wentz the best quarterback in the upcoming NFL draft. I don't know if we're going to recant that statement anytime soon because it was a fun statement to make. But based on everything we've been hearing inside the National Football League, Carson Wentz looks like he's going to go either number 2 to the Cleveland Browns or number 4 to the Dallas Cowboys, despite what Jerry Jones has said. If Carson Wentz is there at 4, how could the Cowboys not take him? So Carson Wentz, I believe, though, should pack his bags, call up Johnny Manziel, and see if he can rent out his house or apartment or wherever Johnny actually lived, because Carson most likely is going to be moving to Cleveland. Poor Carson. It's where all the good quarterbacks go to die. All right, so last night in the National Basketball Association, the Cleveland Cavaliers lost and the Golden State Warriors won. It was the Warriors' 45th straight home game. It was actually a close game. I had a chance to sit down with a couple of the kids and enjoy the game last night on television. And I can tell you that the Orlando Magic did not show up in the first half. They showed up in the second half. And it was close. It was an odd game to watch. The Warriors won. Steph went for 41. And I don't know how many turnovers the Warriors had. It must have been like 25 plus turnovers. I'm telling you, it was a lot of turnovers last night in the game for the Warriors. But the Dub Nation came through with the big victory. 45 straight home wins. Look, I'm still holding to my prediction that the Warriors will tie but not beat the Chicago Bulls single season record. It is a hard thing to do. Look, this is a different kind of team than the Chicago Bulls. They are built differently. And when your point guards and your shooting forwards start to get tired, you have to do what Steve Kerr is going to do. And he's going to rest the players for the playoffs. And they need to do that if the Warriors are really going to take a serious run at a second championship in a row. Because I got to tell you, OKC is a mess right now. But trust me, when the playoffs start, they will get that thing turned around. The Clippers are improving, and Blake Griffin isn't even back. And the San Antonio Spurs, what have they won? Is it 36? It's 36 or 39 straight home games in a row. Look, getting through the West is not like getting through the East, North America, if you know what I mean. The only challenge that the Cleveland Cavaliers will have is themselves and maybe the Toronto Raptors. You tell us what you think, North America. We want to hear from you. info@seat77.com. We will read your emails on the air when we have a chance. All right, it is time. Is everybody ready? I know we are super excited to talk tennis. And I don't know if you saw this, but Maria Sharapova tested positive for a drug that... Okay, so we should set this up. For a drug that has recently been banned by the Tennis Association. Note that this drug has been around for a long time, and it's usually taken by heart patients that will take this particular drug for 4 to 6 weeks. Not 10 years, Maria Sharapova. So she got caught. She failed the test, and she did something that nobody else has done that has tested positive for drugs or has gotten in trouble for drugs or enhancements or steroids. And you got to kind of give it to Maria Sharapova. Go ahead and play the audio now.
Let you know that a few days ago I received a letter from the ITF that I had failed a drug test at the Australian Open. I did fail the test and I take full responsibility for it.
Wow. I don't know about you, but if you're driving, you probably just, pulled off of the road and you're like me, and you must be saying, wait, what? Did an athlete actually just admit to taking performance-enhancing drugs? They actually held a press conference to say, I made a mistake? Oh my gosh. Only in tennis would that happen. You would never see that happen in the National Football League, Peyton Manning. You'd never see that happen in Major League Baseball, Barry Bonds. And you certainly wouldn't see it happening in cycling, Lance Armstrong. Look, it's unbelievable that she got out in front of the story. She did the right thing. You got to commend her on that. But the point is, she's been taking this drug for like 10 years. 10 years of her career has been spent while on this particular drug. So we went looking. We wanted more information on the drug and what does it really do? And who was the best person to answer that question That's right. Tennis great Chris Everett. Producer Buck, you got the audio? Okay, go ahead and play the Chris Everett audio now.
Well, first of all, meldonium is a performance-enhancing drug, and it is illegal in the United States. Maria Sharapova says that she has been taking this for medical reasons. If you look it up, the drug, what it does is it helps anybody with angina and any serious heart-related issues. But in the sporting world, it does enhance an athletic performance because it increases endurance, it improves recovery, and that all spells out, a positive for an athlete if they're training hard and if they want to be their best.
Thank you, Chrissy Everett. Look, I've been waiting all day to say that. Thank you, Chrissy Everett, for that audio. What do you think Chris Everett works for the Surgeon General? She had some really deep knowledge on the drug that Sharapova's been taking for the last 10 years. Turns out she's been taking this drug, a drug that you're only supposed to take for 4 to 6 weeks. She has been taking this drug since 2006. The bottom line here is that Sharapova did a really nice job getting out in front of the story. It's a story that should have never been a story. She should have never taken the drug in the first place. And she has been cheating for the last 10 years. So what are the ramifications to this story for Sharapova? Well, they started today as the sponsors on Madison Avenue started to pull out. Nike, her main sponsor, has suspended their contract with Sharapova, as well as Porsche. And I hope to someday have a Porsche sponsorship on the Dave Dabbah Big Show, because I drive one and I recommend them. If you have a chance, you should definitely go drive one. Okay, it has been a fantastic show. Send us your emails, North America. We want to hear from you. info@seat77.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, TuneIn Radio. Our iTunes channel is now in the top 70 sports podcasts. So thank you so much for all of your support. So, Producer Buck, what have we learned today from today's big show? Well, we learned that Optimus Prime won because Megatron has retired. JPP got less money, but remains a New York Football Giants. I might or might not have been wrong about Mike Mayock smoking weed, as he likes Carson Wentz, and we believe Carson Wentz will go number 2 to Cleveland. The Warriors have won 45 straight games, and Maria Sharapova has been cheating since 2006. And she's been taking a drug that you're only supposed to take for 4 to 6 weeks, and she's been doing it for over 10 years. Thanks again for tuning in. For the silent one, I am Dave Dabbah, reminding you that not everyone can be a champion, but everyone can act like one can. And good luck, North America.